Hello YouTube, this is Don Zico again. This is the first of two games that I played today. Both of them are using lists that I wrote up for tournaments that are upcoming in a little while that use different comp systems. So the first one is for the Southern Assault, and they use the Swedish comp system. So I'm running this crazy Dragon and Kobold Knight list that I discussed in a video a little while back. Anyway, it's against Skaven, and we rolled a meeting engagement, so that'll be the scenario. So anyway, let's get into deployment. He went first, and I'll get to this in a minute, but we both had a ton of units that didn't start on the board. So anyway, he's got a, over on his left, he's got a Warlord with a Fellblade on a Red Ogre Bonebreaker. Then he's got a horde of 40 Storm Vermin. He's got his unit of Clan Rats with another Warlord that's his General, and his Battle Standard Bearer behind that. And then a big unit of slaves beside that, and then up closer to the line, he's got a Doom Wheel, and there's a Warp Lightning Cannon back in the corner, and he's also got two Warp Fire Throwers deployed with the Storm Vermin and the Clan Rats. Then for my deployment, on my left, I have my big unit of 13 Kobold Knights with a Battle Standard Bearer with the Hydra Banner. Next to them, I've got 29 Warriors with my level 1 Mage. Then I've got my General on a Dragon. He's got Armor of Eternal Servitude and a Dragonbane Gem, plus I think an Ogre Blade and a Potion of Foolhardiness. So he's got Strength 6 attacks, a 2-up armor save, and 4-up regeneration. Then in front of him, I've got a unit of Dark Riders. Now, my thought there, by the way, was that I wanted to protect him from the lightning attack from the Doom Wheel. So I put the Dark Riders in front so that they would be the closest unit to the Doom Wheel, and they'd get hit instead of him. And, you know, it's because he flies, he can just charge over them to get at whatever he needs to get at. I also have another unit of Dark Riders way out on my right, and they swung around with their Vanguard move, so that's where they wind up. And their plan basically is to get to that Warp Lightning Cannon and kill it as quickly as possible. Also, it wasn't really visible in the other picture, but the Skaven players got 5 Gutter Runners that came in behind my entire army. And then over here we can see all of the units that are not deployed, and that's my Blackguard, my Cauldron of Blood, my unit of Crossbowmen, and then his horde of Storm Vermin, his horde of Plague Monks with the Furnace, as well as his unit of Rat Ogres, which he meant to put his Warlord on the Bonebreaker in, and his Hell Pit. So that's a whole lot of stuff not currently in the game. So that brings us to Skaven turn 1. He's going to start off by bringing his Hell Pit, his Plague Monks, and his Red Ogres onto the board. So his Hell Pit and his Plague Monks come in over on my left flank, facing off against my Kobold Knights. And then his Red Ogres are going to come on way over on his left and they're going to move over to try and defend his Warp Lightning Cannon for my Dark Riders. Apart from that, everything's going to kind of shuffle around and move up slightly, especially he's going to move up his Warp Fire Throwers and try and get some shots off at me. Also, this isn't the best picture of it, but he's also going to move up his Doom Wheel to hopefully try and zap my Dragon. In his shooting phase, his Gutter Runners, I guess, are going to take some pot shots at my Warriors. They might kill like one guy. But the big thing is his Warp Lightning Cannon fires on my Dragon, and it goes through my Dark Riders and kills a couple of them. And it hits the Dragon at Strength 4. So he rolls against the Dragon and fails to wound it, but then he rolls against the Rider and he wounds it, so it goes through his armor because it's a Warp Lightning Cannon. He fails his 4-up regeneration, and then the Skaven player rolls like 6 wounds. So my Lord is dead on turn 1 before I even get to move. Now, this is really dumb of me to just leave the Dragon right out in the open instead of making some effort to hide it behind the building there, which I definitely could have done, but basically I just wasn't thinking because usually the Warp Lightning Cannon isn't much of a threat to anything in my army. But so that's a problem, and I feel like I'm already kind of working with the deficit here, going into turn 1 where I proceed to make some other stupid moves. So in my turn, to start off, I bring my crossbows and my Blackguard and my Cauldron onto the board. Now, if I wanted it, I had a pretty good charge against his Plague Monks with my Kobold Knights, but I didn't charge them because the way the sequence works out, if my Cauldron of Blood doesn't start on the board, it doesn't move in from reserves until after it would have had to use its blessing. So on the turn it moves in, it doesn't get to give a buff to one of my units. And I wasn't feeling up to charging a unit of Plague Monks with a Furnace without the buff from the Cauldron. So instead, I reformed the Cold One Knights into a very wide formation because they're squaring off against a horde, and I backed them up. Then beyond that, I moved my warrior blocks so that the sorceress inside would get a good shot at his hell pit to try and hit with a fireball or something. Now over here, I really wasn't thinking straight. I thought to myself that his Doom Wheel, if I charged it, would be pretty weak in combat and wouldn't get many attacks. So I could just charge it with my Dark Riders and beat it, and by like 1 or 2, maybe I'll do a wound and I'll have charging and I'll be able to run it down. So I charged it with my Dark Riders, and I'm going to have my dragon move over here to try and threaten his slaves and his storm vermin and his bunker. And then my Dark Riders here just run up the far right side of the board. So in Magic, I didn't really do anything. I think he. My guess is that I threw a bunch of dice at a fireball, and I think he may have drawn out a Dispel Scroll, but I didn't actually get to do anything. So in shooting, my crossbowmen, they shoot at his gutter runners, and they kill all but 2 of them. So now I'm basically going to not care about that unit for the rest of the game. And my other Dark Riders are in combat, and one of my Dark Riders is in combat, and the other unit didn't really have any good targets. I think they shot at the Rat Ogres and didn't do anything. And then in combat, these Dark Riders, so what I didn't realize was, and I don't know why I didn't realize this, was that the Doom Wheel gets a grind attack that's D3 Strength 6 hits, an auto hit, in every turn that it doesn't charge. So these poor Dark Riders ran in. They might have done like a wound to it if they got lucky, I don't remember. And then they all died. So now his Doom Wheel is free to charge my dragon in the flank, which is sitting right next to it. So I really felt like an idiot after this. And that's just a shot of the board at the end of turn 1. So this brings us to Skaven turn 2. His movement isn't extremely exciting. Over on his flank, he brings his Red Ogres around and maneuvers them to try and prevent my Dark Riders from being able to charge through and hit his Warp Lightning Cannon, and he's successful in that. So I can move around them in my regular movement when I get my free reforms and everything. But in a charge, there's no way I can charge past the Rat Ogres to that Warp Lightning Cannon. Then on his right, he's going to advance with both his, with like everything, his Hell Pit, his Plague Monks, and his Warlord on the Bonebreaker. So that's going to be a fight real soon. And then in the middle, I think he moves up his Warp Fire Throwers some more, but that's about it for his movement. Or anyway, that's it, except for his charge into the flank of my dragon, which is happening because I was an idiot previously. Now, his shooting in Magic is pretty much entirely directed at my Cold One Knights this turn, and I was just, my heart was in my throat because he had a flank shot against me with his Warp Lightning Cannon, and a good shot with that could have obliterated this unit, but he misfired. So I think he hit me with like a Vermintide or something. They killed 1 knight, and apart from that, they got through it fine. And then in close combat, his Doom Wheel also failed to do anything with its shooting, and it also misfired. And its close combat attacks put 2 wounds on the dragon, but then the dragon struck back and rolled great and killed the Doom Wheel outright. So that let me reform with him and set him up for later charges. So on my turn 2, this is when the Cold One Knights sprung into action. I was really excited about this because this unit, when they get a charge, it's just a crazy amount of damage. So they get a charge against the Plague Monks. They are something like 10 wide, and they've got the buff from the Cauldron and the banner giving them bonus attacks. So right down the front, just they're going to charge and they're going to see how it goes. Then over on my flank, I thought this was pretty cool. I've got my dragon charging the flank of his Rat Ogres, which didn't think that there was going to be a living dragon coming after them. And then my Dark Riders are going to swing around the Rat Ogres to charge his Warp Lightning Cannon next turn. And apart from that, things are just sort of moving up. The Warriors are going to move to get a shot to let those Sorcerers try and cast a Fireball at his Hell Pit again, that sort of thing. Now, I don't have a good picture for this, but in my shooting in Magic, basically the one thing I did was I cast a 2d6 Fireball at his Hell Pit. And I just rolled really, really well on the wound roll, and I put 4 wounds on the hell pit. So I'm really excited at this point because I think that's weak enough that if I get lucky, I might even be able to kill it with just the strength 4 attacks from my Cold One Knights, even if it charges me. So that's really cool. I was very excited about that. So in combat, this was so frustrating. He swings against my dragon with his rat ogres. So he's getting 8 attacks, and they hit on 4s, and then they wound on 5s, and then I get a 5-up. I get a 5-up armor save. So that's should be 4 hits, maybe like 1 or 2 wounds, maybe 1 wound through that. Anyway, he does 2 wounds to me, and I swing back 5 times. I need 3s to hit, 2s to wound, no save, and I miss 4 times out of 5. So even with my breath weapon, I do like 2 wounds to him, and I lose, or maybe not even that, and I lose combat, I think. Or if I win, it's only by like 1. No, I win combat, but it's by like 1 or 2, and he makes his leadership 5 steadfast check, so my dragon's stuck there. But then over on this side, my Cold One Knights hit, and they go crazy. So they kill the furnace outright. And they kill probably like 16 or 17 Plague Monks too, so that the Plague Monks don't have a second rank. They're not steadfast, and they need insane courage, and they don't get it. So I'm pumped when this happens. But then this is the trouble. So he rolls like a 10 or an 11 or something like that to flee, and I pursue him, and I get about 4 inches swift stride. So not only does he get away, but I was hoping that I would kill him and overrun through and get out of the charge arc of his warlord here. But now I'm not. So I'm about to get charged on either flank by a Hell Pit Abomination and a warlord with a Fellblade. So strength 10, and so he's going to go right through my armor. And the guy with the Fellblade is on a Rat Ogre Bonebreaker that gives him toughness 5 and 4 wounds. So he's actually pretty tough too, and I'm very concerned about my Cold One Knights, which are like a 700-point unit. And then here's a picture of the board at the end of my turn 2. So anyway, on his turn 3, as expected, he charges me on both flanks with his Warlord and his Hell Pit. That's going to hurt. And he kind of, I guess he moves his Skaven slaves over to try and do something about my dragon or my Dark Riders in movement. So that's about it. That's nothing too crazy. I guess he also rallies his Plague Monks, so they're not even out of the game. And then in his shooting phase, he opens up against my Black Guard with 2 Warp Fire Throwers, and they kill like 13 or 14 of them. They just get perfect shots. So I'm really concerned now because my Cold One Knights, I've got basically 3 big hammer units here. I've got my Black Guard, my Cold One Knights, and my Dragon. My Dragon has 2 wounds left and no Rider. My Cold One Knights just got double flank charged by very scary things, and I just lost about 2/3 of my Black Guard. So this is concerning. And it gets more concerning in combat because he kills like all but 3 of my Cold One Knights. I need insane courage. I don't get it. I break and I run. Both of his guys pursue me, but they don't quite kill me. But even though this unit is out of the game, they need insane courage to even to rally. And even if they do, they're only 2 knights. So there goes my main hammer unit and my battle standard bearer. And then I forgot to take a picture of it, but over on the other flank, my dragon finally rolls better, and he takes 1 more wound from the Rat Ogres, but then he does a bunch of wounds to them, and he beats them in combat, and they break. And what he doesn't pursue, instead he reforms to face the Storm Vermin, because my thought is that on Leadership 5, the Rat Ogres are probably not coming back. And if he faces the Storm Vermin, I think I still have a chance of killing the Storm Vermin with both, if I can get a flank charge from the Dragon, and if I charge his other Warp Fire Thrower with what's left of my Black Guard, and then overrun through into the Storm Vermin, so that they would be fighting in the same round of combat as the Dragon, if I do the orders right. And in my movement phase, that's what I try and set up. I charge his Storm Vermin in the flank with my Dragon. I charge his Warp Fire Thrower with my Black Guard, and the Warp Fire Thrower fails to do anything in particular to it. Over on my extreme right, my Dark Riders charge his Warp Lightning Cannon, so that's that. And elsewhere, I think my Crossbowmen and my Sorcerer's unit are turning to use Shooting and Magic to try and go after his Bonebreaker General and his Hell Pit. Then in my shooting phase, I hit his hell pit with another fireball, which manages to finish it off, so it's dead. And then I was about to shoot his Bonebreaker, but we looked it up, and as far as we can tell, and we may have been wrong about this, but as far as we could tell, a Warlord on a Bonebreaker is not immune to psychology. And it's only leadership 7, so I targeted the Warpfire Thrower next to the Bonebreaker, hoping to panic him, and that's exactly what happened. I killed the Warpfire Thrower, and he fails a panic check, and he starts running. So there he is. So by this point, I'm starting to get optimistic again. I'm thinking, that shooting phase was great. I removed his Hell Pit and potentially his Warlord, and now I'm going to set up this 1-2 punch with the Blackguard and the Dragon, and that can deal with the Stormburn. So first, I had the Blackguard fight the weapon team, and they kill it, and then they roll a 2 for their overrun, so they don't get into a combat. So that's bad. Then I go to do the combat with the Dragon, and he gets 4 attacks before I go. 4 regular attacks with Storm Vermin, hitting on 4s, wounding on 6s, and he kills my Dragon. So no more Dragon. And now he's about to charge those 7 Blackguard with his 40 Storm Vermin. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to deal with this at this point. Although my Dark Riders do kill his Warp Lightning Cannon, so that's something. So yeah, there's the board at the end of my turn 3. I've got Blackguard that are not long for this world. I've got crossbows. I've got warriors. I've got the Cauldron, and I've got 5 Dark Riders, and that's it. So for Skaven movement phase 4, a few things are going on. First, his Storm Vermin charge my Blackguard as expected, and then over here, his 3 remaining Rat Ogres rally on leadership 5. So they're back in the game. But then, because I guess Skaven leadership gives and it takes away, his Rat Ogre Bonebreaker General, well, not General, but Lord with the Fellblade, fails a leadership 7 check and starts booking for the nearest board edge. And then beyond that, his Plague Monks have now reformed to about 5 wide. There are maybe 12 of them left, I want to say. And they are now marching towards my Crossbowmen. So they're trying to get back in the game. Now, in his shooting phase, he's going to take some pot shots with his Gutter Runners at my crossbows, and I think they kill 1. But he doesn't have any shooting other than that. His Warpfire Throwers are both dead, and so is his Warp Lightning Cannon. And then in combat, it's just his Storm Vermin against my Blackguard, and that's a bloodbath. The Blackguard kill 13, 14 of his Storm Vermin, and then all 7 of them are killed in return. And this, I don't have a good picture capturing this, but he made a really serious mistake in retrospect, because after he destroyed the Blackguard, he overran, and his overrun roll, he got an 11 or a 12, which means he went so far forward that my Spearmen with my Sorceress are now just barely in his flank. And in my turn, I charge him in the flank, and so and I get the bonus attacks from the Cauldron, so I'm thinking this is a really favorable combat. And because he overextended like this, I'm going to be able to kill this unit that otherwise I just didn't have a counter for. Now, I didn't take any pictures for the rest of my movement phase in turn 4, but basically all I did was I maneuvered I must have maneuvered my Dark Riders around a little bit to take pot shots at his Rat Ogres, but nothing that wound up mattering. Then in my shooting phase, I'm going to shoot his Plague Monks with my Crossbowmen, and I roll really well, and I kill, I think, 5 of them, which is enough to force a panic check. And not only does he fail, he's now below 25%, so he needs Insane Courage to come back, and he rolls I think he rolls boxcars on his fleet roll. So because it's +1 for Skaven, he runs 13 inches away, and you can see he is so far away from those crossbows. I think if I tried to shoot him where they wound up, they'd be out of range. Then in combat, his Storm Vermin are going to be in big trouble with the flank charge. They lose 3 guys. I lose 2. Because of ranks and flank and all that, I'm going to beat him. He's not steadfast. He breaks. He runs, and I run him down and wind up right there. And then here are a couple pictures of the board at the end of turn 4. Basically, he's got his fleeing. He's got some fleeing stuff, but apart from that, he just has those Rat Ogres, his slaves, and his bunker of clan rats left. So he's going to move up with his He's going to move up with his clan rats and red ogres on his turn 5. And he's not really going to do anything else that matters, apart from failing to rally either his Bonebreaker Warlord or his Plague Monks, and eventually they're both going to run off the board. Except, oh yeah, he's going to shoot with his Gutter Runners and kill one more crossbow. Then in my turn, I'm basically just going to reform my warriors to face his bunker and his red ogres. My Dark Riders are going to run up right behind his red ogres. And in my magic phase, I'm going to shoot some kind of a fireball. It might have been the biggest version of it at the red ogres, and I'll get it with irresistible force. I kill like 3 of my own guys with the miscast, but I kill all but 1 of his red ogres. So he's just got the 1 left. And then in my shooting phase, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to kill 1 of his gutter runners. The remaining one's going to fail a panic check, run away, and it now needs insane courage to come back, which it won't do. So here's the board at the end of turn 5. I guess we'll get into Skaven turn 6. Basically, he's going to charge into my warriors with both his Rat Ogre and his bunker, which has both his other warlord and a BSB in it. So that's an interesting fight. And then he's also going to fail to rally his Plague Monks and his remaining Gutter Runner. And I don't know if you can see the dice there. The Plague Monks rolled a 2 and a 1, needing insane courage. So they were so close, but they still ran off the board. And then here his Gutter Runner ran off the board too. So it's just, he's got a unit of slaves, and he actually moved these slaves pretty cleverly to prevent my Dark Riders from charging into support. So he's got a unit of slaves, his 1 Red Ogre, and his bunker left, and the bunker's fighting my Spearman. Now, in that combat, he's going to kill my Sorceress and like 4 guys. I'm going to put 1 or 2 wounds on him, but not many because I failed my fear check. And so that was pretty bad, and I was very concerned. But I rolled insane courage, even though I needed like a 4. But anyway, that holds them in place, and it gives me another chance to try and get some points out of this. And then in my turn 6, I don't have a whole lot to do. My Dark Riders charge his Skaven slaves in the flank, hoping that maybe I can kill his general, so they'll be low leadership and break. And then in the combat, I switched the Cauldron of Blood buff to Killing Blow, because I figured there's no way I'm actually going to break this unit. But what I might do is roll a 6 to wound either his general or his battle standard bearer. And we fight, and in the fight I kill his Red Ogre, and I get, I want to say I get like 4, maybe it was 6 attacks against his general. And 2 of them hit. So I'm rolling 2 dice. And basically, if I get a 6, I kill him. If not, it won't matter. And I get a 6. So I'm very lucky is what that means. But anyway, his general dies. I think I still lose combat. But I lose combat, and I need a 4 to stay. And I rolled double 2s on my break check. So he doesn't get any points for these warriors, and I kill his general, which is just incredibly lucky on my part. And then my Dark Riders, they're going to beat his Skaven slaves, and they'll all break. So I've got that kills a Dark Rider, but they pass their panic. So that's the board at the end of the game. Basically, we both almost tabled each other. He's got a Battle Standard Bearer and about 15 Clan Rats left, and I've got maybe 10 Warriors, 4 Dark Riders, a Cauldron of Blood, and a unit of crossbows, and nothing else. So, yeah, this is an interesting game. I really shouldn't have won this. I got very lucky at the end. Mostly just because my opponent, he had so many victory points in the bag after he killed my Cold One Knights and my Dragon and my Black Guard that he really didn't need to keep fighting me. So, he didn't need to overrun after he killed my Black Guard. He didn't need to move his Plague Monks forward to try and fight again. But he did anyway, and he wound up giving up a ton of victory points in the process. So I should have lost here, but just because my opponent didn't just didn't just sit on the narrow win, he went and tried to table me, and it didn't work out for him. But so that's the first part of the doubleheader. That's the Swedish comp list, and I'll have another video up shortly with my ETC list running against Warriors of Chaos. Thanks for listening, everybody.